Welcome to the God Has Spoken podcast. As doubts about God's will arise, the world resorts to feelings and experts. We go to the law and to the testimony of God's Word. In today's episode, we are going to be all over the book of Proverbs, specifically addressing the Proverbs on fools. We often don't like to think of ourselves as a fool, but the Proverbs in the Bible expose us in many areas of our life. What can I do to be more wise and less like a fool in day-to-day life?
The book of Proverbs is such a wonderful book. It gives God's wisdom that we need and tells a lot about people who don't have God's wisdom, which we may see ourselves in the mirror of some of those passages. But Proverbs on fools are very notorious. They're well known and sometimes funny, but often very telling.
And nobody wants to think of themselves as a fool. And sometimes maybe it's hard to nail down what is a fool, but the Proverbs has a lot of very specific scenarios where you can see that you're a fool.
It does, and we couldn't possibly cover all of them today. We're just going to look at a few random Proverbs that talk about what a fool is and what we need to do about it. So Proverbs 17, verse 24.
Wisdom is the focus of the perceptive, but a fool's eyes roam to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, a fool can't focus. He's always looking everywhere instead of getting things done right where he is. There's another proverb that fits that too, Proverbs 28:19. He who tills his land will have plenty of food, but he who follows empty pursuits will have poverty and plenty. Mm-hmm. He's just following empty things. He can't concentrate. He's distracted. He's just chasing things. You see people who do that. It's always a big idea, not the same one from day to day, week to week, month to month, but they're this, they're that. They're always going to make it big. Everything's always going to be great because they got this newfangled scheme that's going to work this time. Mm-hmm. People who want to make a good living and want to be successful in life need to till their land.
Yeah.
They need to work hard, persistently over a period of time. Farming's not glamorous. It's not exciting, but it'll produce a crop.
Yeah.
But the guy who's chasing all these different schemes and speculations he's got will never make anything. He's a real fool.
Yes.
And then Proverbs 26, verse 13 to 16.
The slacker says, "There's a lion in the road, a lion in the public square." A door turns on its hinges and a slacker on his bed. The slacker buries his hand in the bowl. He is too weary to bring it to his mouth. In his own eyes, a slacker is wiser than 7 who can answer sensibly.
The sluggard, the lazy man. There's a lot of proverbs on laziness, and they're hilarious. He says there's a lion in the road. In other words, he's any excuse to get out of work.
Yeah, and he might be right. There could be a lion in the square. That's a real possibility, but it doesn't sound like he did his homework to make sure that was true.
Yeah, and I doubt that. I haven't seen any lions in my road, so I don't know if he has or not. But it's like he's just coming up with an excuse not to do anything. He gets some exercise, though. Just like the door turning on its hinges. He goes from lying on his stomach to sleeping on his back.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the range of motion he has.
Yeah.
You know some people like that. They sleep all day, sleep all night.
Yep.
Maybe play video games all day and sleep all night.
Yep.
But they don't do it. They don't accomplish anything. And then, I love this one. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish. Gravity helps him get his hand over there into the dish, but he just doesn't have the strength to raise it up to his mouth. That's just too much work for him. And he certainly doesn't want work to have to study something to give a good answer to something. He just thinks he knows it all without having to put any application.
He's arrogant. And that is a really fascinating thing I think the Proverbs point out that I've seen is true. Is sometimes the laziest people also happen to be the most arrogant people.
Yeah, well, because they're foolish and they don't want to work.
Yes.
And so they flatter themselves that they know everything already without having to do any research or study.
Right.
And then look at Proverbs 24. This is another proverb on lazy fools. There's a lot of lazy fools. Proverbs 24, verse 30 to the end of the chapter.
I went by the field of a slacker and by the vineyard of one lacking sense. Thistles had come up everywhere, weeds covered the ground, and the stone wall was ruined. I saw and took it to heart. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, and your need like a bandit.
So the foolish man, the lazy man, the sluggard, he doesn't do anything to keep up the place. He lets everything just break down and weeds and all to overgrow it because he's just too lazy to do anything. And you see people like that. They won't keep themselves up. They won't keep up their property. They won't do anything because they're just lazy. Little more slumber, a little more sleep. What begins as a little nap ends up being a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get out of bed. And really, diligence and hard work is the antidote for the fool in this.
Yes.
It's so foolish not to be energetic. And you might think about this. How many times do we occupy ourselves with doing something we like to do instead of what we need to do?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a list of 10 things you need to do today, the first one you ought to do?
The
one you
don't
hate the
want.
most. Get that over with. Get the hard ones over with first, and by the end of the day, when you're tired, you just got easy jobs left to do.
Yeah.
So we can be lazy by not doing what really ought to be done, busying ourselves doing something we like.
Yeah.
And then look at Proverbs 21:20. This is another one that's, I think, very thoughtful. 21:20.
Precious treasure and oil are in the dwelling of a wise person, but a fool consumes them.
Yeah, the fool consumes what the righteous man, a wise man, would conserve. He squanders it. He uses it for his own gratification. The guy who's always wanting to pamper himself and never wanting to save something up for later on. Wise people are conservative, and they save for future events, future crises or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Proverbs 25, verses 16 and 17. 25,
Sure.
verses 16 and 17.
If you find honey, eat only what you need. Otherwise, you'll get sick from it and vomit. Seldom set foot in your neighbor's house. Otherwise, he'll get sick of you and hate you.
This is a good one. Do you like honey?
I love it.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
What if you just sat down to a big bowl of honey? What if you did that 3 times a day, 7 days a week?
Yeah, you're going to be able to tell that I had honey 3 times a day, 7 days a week, but it's also going to upset your stomach.
Yes, you're going to be miserable in the long run. That is so true. And that's, just eat what you need, not what you want. When we overindulge in something that's good, it can be really bad for us. We don't want to do that kind of thing. And he applies that to being in your neighbor's house. Isn't it good to drop in for a visit? Well, yeah, visits are good. We need to be together some. But visits can get old. After a while, they keep saying, well, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, and they never do. Then they overdo it. Good things are good in their place, but too much of a good thing can be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Fools haven't learned that.
Yeah. They overstayed their welcome.
Yes,
yeah. And
exactly.
it's the lack of self-awareness is a lot of it for a fool.
And the lack of self-control. We do what we feel like, not what's wisest.
Yeah.
We need to think about what's really best.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to do sometimes when we want to do otherwise. And then Proverbs 22, verse 26 and 27.
Don't be one of those who enter agreements, who put up security for loans. If you have nothing with which to pay, even your bed will be taken from under you.
Don't co-sign a loan.
Yeah.
Don't be responsible for somebody else's debts. Don't say it's just a signature, they won't come after me. He says they'll take your bed, or we'd say they'll take the kitchen sink.
Right, yeah.
Don't do that. I don't care how well you know them, how much you like them, how much they need it. You put yourself responsible for their debts. Guess what? You're the one that'll be paying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you signed a line, they're going to come for you.
And you know who does that worst? Your children. How many times have children taken advantage of their parents because their parents signed for them?
Mm-hmm.
Be very careful about that. If you're going to sign anything, make sure you have the money to pay and you're assuming that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's probably what's going to happen.
Yes.
And then Proverbs 26, verse 17.
A person who is passing by and meddles in a quarrel that's not his is like one who grabs a dog by the ears.
Mind your own business.
Yeah.
That's what he's really saying. Don't get involved in something that's not your problem. So often we can just insert ourselves into situations that don't belong to us.
Yeah.
If somebody wants our advice, they need to come to us. We don't need to just pop up and give it all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is. And then Proverbs 26, verses 18 and 19.
Like a madman who throws flaming darts and deadly arrows, so is the person who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking.
Yes. How many times do people do that? They're caught in a lie. And, it's just a joke. I didn't mean it. Well, if it's just a joke, let it be known that it's a joke. Mm-hmm. It's not fair to deceive somebody with a joke. Jokes need to be clarified very quickly, in fact.
Yeah, because he's saying they're like flaming darts and deadly arrows.
Yeah. You misled him. You made him make a foolish decision or make a fool out of himself because you thought you were telling him the truth. Well, really, you were lying, but you say I was just joking. Mm-hmm. So that's a good one. 27:3.
A stone is heavy and sand a burden, but aggravation from a fool outweighs them both.
Fools are just burdensome. They're exhausting. Trying to deal with them is just overwhelming. What are you going to do? You just can't carry a fool around.
Yeah.
So that's also thought-provoking. What are you going to do to get a fool away from his folly? How are you going to cure him? 27:22.
Though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle along with grain, you will not separate his foolishness from him.
You can't separate a folly from a fool. There's no rehabilitation. Don't waste your time trying to make a wise man out of a fool. Mm-hmm. Also look at 23:9. Mm-hmm.
Don't speak to a fool, for he will despise the insight of your words.
You can't cure him. You might as well give up. Fools are just uncorrectable fools. And so there's just a lot of good to learn from Proverbs about what we need to avoid. And avoid being a fool, avoid keeping close company with fools will be very helpful. There's plenty more where that came from. Read Proverbs.
Thank you for listening to the God Has Spoken podcast. If you'd like to leave a review, we would ask that you would do so in your preferred listening platform so that we can use this as an opportunity to reach those who would like to hear God's Word. And if you have any suggestions or comments for future episodes, feel free to send Gary an email at garyfisher1063@gmail.com. We hope you have a blessed day.